hell? We literally called maintenance and then things worked and it wouldn't work. Not to say it's gonna get any better, but it's hot as hell here. Huh? I don't know. We literally called maintenance and said, man, make something cool in here because we're hot. We have a hot panel. Yeah.
How many of y'all just watched it?
Hello to everybody.
Thanks for hanging out. Thanks. What was that?
Yeah, especially in this heat. They didn't have anything better to do in this heat. They had to just sit here quietly and listen to me tell chicken jokes. Ken, do you have enough of those to share?
I do. I can go get some more.
Ken,
You want some more?
congratulations on Cinema Wasteland number 45.
He's 48, but COVID's took a couple from us. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. I stayed home and made
I
money.
thought it was 25.
It's 25
There's
years.
two a
but it's
year
our
for many
45th
years.
show.
45th show.
We're doing twice a year. Twice a year.
Beginning in
25
2004.
times 2,
So it took you
45.
50 shows for us to get here. I can do the math. No, thanks for having us.
I mean, like, why not celebrate the style? Okay.
So who's asking inappropriate questions? Is it going to start with you?
Can I ask you a question first? I have a question that's been on my mind. For someone as famous as yourself, who's done so many TV, talk show appearances, etc., yes, I'm asking you this question. You routinely don't correct hosts who mispronounce your last name. And I mean, is that just like out of politeness, or because I mean?
Well, it's a little weird looking, but if you put an H where the B is, hearse, then it's Bearse. But I mean, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I say if somebody's going to introduce me, I'll say it's Bearse. Rhymes with curse, rhymes with hearse. You know, something joyful like that, and then they go Bearse, Amanda Bearse. Like, well, it's fine.
So everyone in this room, please, Amanda Bearse, not Bearse. You can be the people pronouncing it incorrectly. And she'll be on a talk show, and they'll say, now it's Amanda Bearse, and you don't, yeah, okay. That's all I wanted to begin with, so.
I'd have mispronounced it.
Yeah, I know, it's true. And actually, if I had it, there's not many of us left on the planet, my family name, so that's why, I didn't even think about changing it. But to do it all over again, I might have, because when people don't know how to pronounce your name, they don't say it. You know what I mean? So it's not helpful when you want to be known for something. It's like, Amanda, it's all good.
See, this is like, unlike my family, we weren't just very bright, so they just put 4 letters in it. You can't mispronounce it. Kish. How do you get quiche out of? It's like kish, like fish and dish. Dish.
All right, so what are we doing here?
I think we've settled that.
WTF, they're sitting here sweating, man.
We're in
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually come to hell for this. I don't know. Why don't we start with Cliff? You're talking. Well, I mean, let's
No
see.
shock there.
Yeah. Well, keep you talking, Amanda. You got your start in with mostly television, which you've remained, soap operas, like you were in All My Children. Before Fright Night, you and Stephen were both in a little comedy called Fraternity Vacation, which I actually saw in a theater.
Wow.
Big release movie, it's a studio
We
movie.
had multiplexes that would always show like some weird obscure movie or a horror film as double feature. And Fraternity Vacation actually played, but I'm not quite sure it played a whole lot, but it did, and I actually saw it. Me and Tom.
The summer it came out, it was at a theater on 42nd Street in New York, between Broadway and 8th Avenue. Back then,
That was
it
porn
was-
houses
Yeah,
and.
I mean, very a lot of character, but it was not just one theater. Like amidst all these other theaters showing, porno movies. But 976 Evil was on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a porn movie.
Now, my question for both of you too was, did that film lead directly to getting cast into Fright Night or not? Or was that film just sort of,
No,
we had to go?
I've told some of this folks who've stopped by today that I had a small part. Stephen was the lead in Fraternity Vacation when it was called Wendell, and that was his character's name. But Porky's and all those movies were happening, so they decided to change the name. But we're hanging out and Fraternity Vacation's wrapping, and I say to him, "You got anything else going on?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm doing this little horror movie." I said, "Really? What is it?" And it's called Fright Night. I said, "Oh, me too." We had no idea. And then it was like 2 months later, we started Fright Night. So
Everybody would it was sort of cast the regular old casting call went in for the audition.
Yeah.
Because the cast gels real well in the film. I mean,
The woman who did the casting was a woman named Jackie Birch, who was John Hughes's go-to casting person. She did so much stuff in the 80s. She found everybody. And she was the one who was doing this. And they...
she had cast you in something else, right?
She'd seen me for something
Okay.
else, but I didn't get cast in it. Thanks for reminding me. And, but they...
She felt sorry for
Yeah,
you.
she felt sorry. I gotta give him something. So, but they went through a lot of actresses trying to find Amy, and I think I mentioned this before. Demi Moore was one of them, and there was a list of really kind of hot girls at that point who came in for that role, and but they didn't all or any of them have the chops that Amanda had. So that's
I actually, right before you got hired, they were screen testing younger actresses, and there was this young lady. I mean, she looked like she was like 16, and I read with her, and I did her screen test, and
Well, I was auditioning with 16 and 17-year-olds going, I don't know about this. Because I was 26. But the character, and it's very unusual even today for a character, for a young woman, especially in the 80s, to be so developed, pun intended, but to have such a storyline and go through such a journey. And I think real teenagers kind of didn't make the transition. And so they needed somebody with a little life experience.
Yeah, there were a lot of women in the news, but to be able to make the leap to,
Monster.
third act Amy was a challenge for
Well, that was William. It was your first, major role, first feature film role, and I mean, I just rewatched the film, and it's been years, and I again saw it in the theater when it came out. It holds up really well, and for and the good thing is like for your first feature role is you were great. I mean, it held up. You had some acting chops, kid.
Yeah, he did all right. Didn't you do the Laura Dern movie first, though?
Yeah, I had a
Smooth
part.
Talk. I saw that in the theater.
Yeah, it wasn't
Wow.
but it was his first feature, starring
Yeah.
role. Feature length.
Smooth Talk with
Smooth
Lord
Talk.
Dern.
Tree
You had, Stephen, you had an incredibly epic 9 months with 3 major theatrical releases. You had Heaven Help Us, Fraternity Vacation, and Fright Night hit screens like bam, bam, bam. You must have been widely recognized at that point.
And-
You had a Tony nomination that year
I was
too.
doing a musical on Broadway while I was filming Heaven Help Us, and I mean it was crazy.
You were shooting at the same time that you were doing the musical?
The exact same
Wow.
time, yeah. I do it in Philip Bosco, at least 4 or 5. Kate Reed, we're doing shows in New York, and as soon as Fright Night was over, I just happened to go to LA on a whim, and then I met James Frawley, who cast me in maternity vacation. So yeah, it all happened very quickly.
And at close range, right?
Yeah.
It was a busy 1984, 1985
Yeah.
for you.
Absolutely.
Well, and Heaven Help Us did pretty well, but I think unfortunately it came out the week before The Breakfast Club, which was not wonderful timing for it. It was just 1 week before, and that played theaters. But that kind of makes you, at the very least, Brat Pack adjacent. What did you make of the documentary Brats? It was pretty polarizing. Came out about a year ago.
I did not see that. Was it good?
I thought so. I thought it was interesting. It was about the journalist who came up with the term Brat Pack, and it covers your generation of actors. And Andrew McCarthy directed it, so your co-star from.
I heard. I saw little ads here and there of people that weren't included, who were kind of resentful of that.
Of not being included in the Brat Pack?
Yeah, not.
Any names?
Now, Roddy McDowell, of course, was in the film, and everybody loves Roddy McDowell. And I think he was a child actor who made the transition to adult actor and worked his whole life away. And I had an opportunity to meet Roddy McDowell. He was a wonderful person to me as a fan. How was it working with someone like Roddy McDowell when you guys this was all early in your career, and then, you're working with Roddy McDowell? How was that? Do you have memories of working with him? I mean, you all had time with him, so.
You had the most time.
Sure.
I had a couple of scenes. You had more because of your attack with him and everything. He was so gracious. He was so lovely.
Helpful, the younger.
Well, no, actually, I think he had a lot of vulnerability. That's what I remember, which you could tell in the character, but as a human being, he was very humble to the point of being vulnerable about.
Yeah, there's no pretense at all about it. I mean,
He wanted to do a good
genuine-
job.
Yeah, he was a genuine. He was a product and a child of movies, but he was also a fan and had the most respect for the actors and and just the life of an actor.
Yeah, for the process.
The process, and he was fundamental in really in the Actors Home, which is the old age home for actors out in California. He was a weekly visitor there. He would go and visit people who had long been forgotten, from the 30s and 40s and stuff.
He was a real scholar of old Hollywood,
Yeah, yeah.
and collector, right, of autographs and memorabilia. For
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
And photographer.
He was just in a lot of wonderful films.
Well, yeah, Tom Holland had been impressed with him in Class of 1984, which he wrote, right? That was partly how he got the idea of casting him.
Yeah. But he was a really genuine, down to earth, available, accessible person that just there was never a moment when we were shooting where it was like, where's Roddy? Let's wait for Roddy, blah blah blah. He was there. He was on set. He never left. He was telling stories, and he was rehearsing with us, and he was going into the story, and he was a professional.
Yeah, and of course you guys returned for Fright Night 2, which I thought was it was a decent film. I mean, it was hard to live up to the first one. The first one was just, it was one of those films that fell together. The script was good, the cast was good, everything just fell together wonderfully. But Fright Night 2 was not a bad film. I mean, it holds up still, and it was enjoyable. And of course, you and Roddy came back for that. So that was cool. It had to be cool to go back and here is Roddy again.
It was nice knowing that something was going to work going in on it.
Yeah.
Well, the release of that was at least somewhat affected by the murder of Jose Mendez, right, by the Menendez brothers. He was the head of live entertainment, and that movie was about to have it got a lot of pre-theatrical press. Like if you go back and look at newspapers.com, etc., like there was a lot of hype that there was a Fright Night 2 coming out, and then it did not get a big theatrical release after the company's disarray after the murder of Jose Menendez. Kind of an interesting factoid. I think that's pretty well known. The sequel did not have Amanda in it, but she read some version of a script at some point. Is that right? You read an early
Yes,
reading?
it is. And William did not remember this. And he said, no, I don't think that happened. And I said, I have a clear memory of sitting and having an out loud read through of some sort. No, he said no. And then, not that long ago, a gentleman came up to the table and he said, I have the original draft of the first draft of Fright Night 2. And I was like, And so there was, but you don't have a recollection of a reading. But so Amy was in the first version, and they didn't like the direction of the script, obviously. And then I was doing Married with Children, but I would have loved to have done. Thanks, Billy. I would have loved to have done it, but Billy said no. She can't. No, not true. Not the first part is, no, there was a...
You said that I did the reading, and I didn't do the reading.
You didn't remember the script.
I never saw the script. You
So
saw the
then,
script.
therefore, it didn't exist. Because if
I
he
think
didn't
I was
see
not in the
it...
sequel. I think that's what happened. I was not in the sequel.
Oh, I know.
Zach Gallagher.
It really featured it, and actually did. I had a lot to do in it, I think. Oh, okay, now we're really getting to it, aren't we? A little sabotage, a little... Thanks for this question. No, but I really did feel better that I didn't make it up. But you were off doing your own
Yeah,
film.
no, I read that same script, and you were in it a lot. I mean, it was like you two together, were in like pretty much every scene, and I just remembered reading like Evil Ed would be a passenger in a limousine driving down the road. I get out for some unknown reason and start cackling and laughing just for its own sake. So it wasn't written well for my part. So, and I had been offered 976 Evil, pretty much simultaneously, and hope to see Robert on Halloween when he gets his scar. Yeah.
Did you audition for that movie, or did they just offer it to you for 976?
I think I don't remember auditioning.
Yeah, why would he have to audition for a film that's based on his character, right?
Well, not really. It's not based on Evil Ed, right?
No, I mean I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, okay, yeah. The producer.
Similarities in the
I got a better version
The
of yours.
producer of 976 Evil, what was her name? She didn't want me, and they wanted a kid who was literally like 12 years old to play my part. And but Robert really wanted me to be in the film, so he argued with her and convinced her to pick me for the part, who was like, double the age of other people that were up for it. So it was, so I think Robert had seen Fright Night and was really impressed with that, or heard about it, or something like that. So that's how that
Didn't you originally read for Charlie Brewster, or you thought you were reading for Charlie Brewster in the beginning?
Yeah, when my agent sent me the script and I read it, I pretty much thought, okay, I'm going to be playing this, straight arrow kind of guy character. But I read Evil Ed, I was like, there's no way I'm playing this crazy part. And
I think you fit it to a T. Even the irritating, cackling laugh it wouldn't have worked. It might not have worked with somebody else the way it worked with you.
Yeah, that laugh was, it was hard. Because I didn't relate to the character at all when I read it. So I had to work at it.
Well, you already had that awesome hairstyle, though. That was your hairstyle in the other two movies that came out that year. You had that same hairstyle in Heaven Help Us and Fraternity Vacation.
Yeah, Michael Jenner, the director of Heaven Help Us, we were all in a room at the Mayfield or Mayfair apartment on Central Park West. Mayflower Hotel, yeah. And everybody, he'd like, okay, Kevin, Dylan, your hair's going to be like this, and Malcolm Denard. And then he came up to me and he didn't know what to do with it, so he just took his hand and
Swooped it over.
he said, "Oh, that's it. That's it."
Yeah, that's funny because, well, like, of course, Fright Night, that's become an 80s horror classic. 97X Evil was sort of a culty 80s classic. And you were also in The Chair, which is sort of a cult, it's become like a culty 80s horror film as well.
Yeah, and I was actually working with Trini Alvarado. She was the star of that, and we were doing an off-Broadway show. So that was another coincidence.
Yeah, and it is just funny that, like, me and my wife used to run a video store, and The Chair was one of those slow burn things that people just slowly started renting, and it kind of became a cult movie of the 80s. So
I don't think I've seen
James Coco, the famous New York actor, he had just written one of his cookbooks, and he had lost a lot of weight. He was kind of yo-yo dieted, but and then he died right after that. Terrible. He was a nice guy.
Okay, well, Amanda, we'll come back to you now for a second here because while I'm thinking about it, in 1987, you mentioned you landed the role of Marcy Garcia, Married with Children, which was a huge hit because of the fledgling Fox, network, and was on for years. I watched it every Sunday because the alternatives weren't as funny for a comedy. But my question really is from there you started directing. Was that like were you interested, a natural progression, something you wanted to do? Like, hey, could I, hey, I want to do this. Can I direct?
Well, we all came from theater, Billy and Stephen and myself, and it's a different animal than doing film or television, and the experience is different. It's kind of more of a whole experience. I feel that the cast and crew are kind of one in a way that's not quite the same in film and television. So it was a sort of natural progression that a lot of actors make to direct. For me, David Garrison had already left Married with Children. I was going to go down with the ship. I didn't care. And the kids, Christina's such a fabulous actor from the get-go, but they were writing more towards the kids as the show went on. Early on, it was a little more neighbor-heavy, but I was gonna be Fifth Banana and fine, but they asked me, is there anything else you'd like to do? And I said I'd like to direct, so I negotiated for it, and they gave me one episode, and I had already started taking class. And then at the AFI, the American Film Institute, and USC, and these isolated classes, not in a full program. And then I just always paid attention. I love crew, and I just love what they do, and watching everybody, and trailing directors is how you learn a lot of what to do and what not to do. So the first one went well, and then I got another and another, and by the end of the run of the series, I had already gone off directing other things on our downtime because I knew Married with Children was going to end. And they're going to go, well, can she direct anything else besides Married with Children? Yeah, she can.
Is directing a learn by doing process?
Often, but it's the experience. We have a vocabulary as actors to speak with other actors. But again, I had such a respect for the crew, for the people you don't see. And so they had my back. And so anyway, it kind of launched me into my next career, and I quit acting after Married with Children. I quit pursuing that so that I could be taken seriously as a director. And at the time, there were maybe this many of us behind the camera. So I had a momentum that I wanted to grab a hold of, and Hollywood's like, you don't do both. Hollywood's judgy that way.
Do you still continue to direct?
Well, I had a career with it for 35 years after married, and but I'm retired, and thank you. Yeah, exactly. But I don't pursue it, and I don't I haven't lived in Hollywood land for a really long time. But
Well, you were a true trailblazer in that time. Besides being one of the only female directors, you were the first female to be out on national television. You came
Lesbian,
out
yeah.
in 1993,
Ellen.
which was trailblazing news if ever there was one.
Well, that was around the birth of my child, and the tabloid press, there wasn't social media then. The tabloid press were always dancing around, you know, I guess my similarity to Christy McNichol, I don't know. But I just didn't, I was out in my life. People knew that about me, but I made the conscious choice at that time because the tabloids were going to make a nasty story around the fact that I was having a child. And I wasn't going to let them be the only storyteller. So that's when I made the choice to professionally come out. And it was about, let's see, that was 93, 94. Yeah, and then Ellen was a few years later. But
And
I was
you
happy
know-
to pass the torch because I had a newborn and a career, and so I was.
You gave publicity also to National Coming Out Day, right? Didn't you do it?
I launched it. Yeah, the Human Rights Campaign, which is the largest lobbying group in Washington for LGBTQ people. They acquired the brand, and so it was October 11th of 1994. Yeah, so I was their first poster child. Yeah, no.
Somebody asked
You know, for me, thank you, I appreciate the support, but for me, it was just the right thing to do for me personally at the time, because having a child is a sacred thing. And I just didn't, I wanted to be able to own that and tell the story my way.
you. Well, hey, welcome to Wasteland where we don't judge.
Well, thanks.
And you should see some of the films we've celebrated. You know we don't judge you.